Hey, everybody, this is Reverend Bill, and today is September 6th for at least another, I don't know, 40 minutes or so. And we've got a lot of things to cover, so let's hop right on over to that. Let's share our screen. Share and. And this first story saddens me to no end. How many times do we have to do this? Uh, Another beautiful girl endlessly had to have her life ended uh, for no good reason that I can think of. Dakara Thompson, Maryland resident. On Sunday, her body was found dumped on the side of the road. She was a missing teen. Um, there was surveillance footage showing her. For some reason, I think she actually had her own car, and something happened. Anyway, she was seen getting into a black SUV around 3 a.m. She climbed into a car that went to a house in Bowie, I guess, where she was seen murdered in I guess you went into this guy's house, and the police later found out enough evidence to see that she was murdered in a bedroom of the suspect's house. To no one's shock or surprise, he was an illegal alien who had previously been arrested. We're going to get into that and let go. This, by the way, I want to give people their credit. This was I got this from New York Post. A lot of the stuff I'm going to be going over today, I got from the New York Post. This actual story comes from WTOP. This illegal alien was previously arrested. This one's particularly painful. He was arrested for a DUI, and he was let go in Maryland. The part that really gets me on this one is he was arrested by the United States Park Police, the USPP. They are not, this wasn't a sanctuary city environment, but these are not held by sanctuary city laws. Now, let me just get this off my chest, because anyone who knows me knows that I am absolutely disgusted by sanctuary city laws. But this, however, that aside, how much I dislike and despise sanctuary city laws, however, this group was not held to sanctuary city laws. So I don't know why they acted like they were. They should have detained him and informed ICE. They did not. They actually acted as though they were under sanctuary city laws, which they were not. And they released him and did not inform ICE. So he was actually released back into the general population for no reason. So he was set to go free and end up killing this beautiful young girl senselessly. There is an investigation, apparently, as to why they acted in the irresponsible manner that they did. We don't know if anything is going to come from that. If I was the family of this young girl, I would certainly want some answers. As far as a lawsuit, who cares? I mean, if I was a family, I'm not sure money can actually make up for any loss, but there was certainly some negligence in here, and I would want some answers as a father or mother. This girl was a beautiful young girl, 19 years old, and her life ended for no good reason that I know of. And I would like to add that I want to know where all the Al Sharptons and Jasmine Crockett's are that supposedly are for the black people. I don't really think they are for the black people. I think they are anti-white, because if they were for the black people, they would be out speaking about this, but they don't. It doesn't seem to match their agenda. I think their agenda is just anti-white, because I'm speaking out for her, because I'm for all kinds of people. I'm not just for white people. I'm for black people. I'm for any people, especially Christians. And this stuff just absolutely kills me. So if I'm speaking out, why aren't they? But anyway, this needs answers. This definitely needs answers, and I'm really want to hear from them, and I want to know why these people acted so irresponsibly. That there's a dead girl now that need not have died. Um, I just this is ridiculous. This man should never have been in this country. That's up to Biden. And then he should not have been released. And if they crossed over, if they crossed their signals over because of the sanctuary city laws, number one, there shouldn't be any sanctuary city laws anywhere. And number two, these guys should know their job and know what they have to do and what they shouldn't have to do. And if they released thinking that they were obliged to follow sanctuary city laws, why didn't they know their jobs? Because this is just absolutely there's no excuse for this. Moving on, I guess, because there's no point in just ruminating over it. This is a little interesting. I found this. There's different kinds of possession. We're going to be hitting on paranormal a little bit later on as well, for a few reasons. But I found this one kind of interesting. As I was reading the Bible, also another thing, it comes up a couple of times. I want to be clear on possessions. There's more than one kind, and one of the kinds people are less probably aware of is when witches want. When I say witches, I mean wizards. Witches are generally women. Wizards are actually, or sorcerers, they're known as, are men, designated. Same thing, just they're males. And there's different categories of that, and I'm not going to get into that right now. But there's also possession whereby the person actually wants the demon in them, and they welcome the demon in them, and that's to get more power. And this happens more often than you might think. Everyone associates possession with unwittingly, usually children or teenagers, that inadvertently says or does the wrong thing, and they get possessed, like the Evil Dead movies, and that's Hollywood. But those what really, and The Exorcist, those what people usually associate with possession. But there's actually more possession whereby people welcome demons, and you see it a little bit with the show Supernatural, that kind of thing. I mean, it does really happen when people welcome demons, and you get more power, and they try to coexist. Well, the interesting thing is, a lot of times the demon makes a deal with the person, and the person actually supposed to be in charge, and the demon is supposed to just give their power and the spells. Well, in my experience, and I think a lot of those who actually do the background work, you find that in the beginning, the demon keeps to their word, but slowly it weasels in, and it actually starts to take a little piece of control here and a little piece of control there. And I think you'll finally find over the course of years, it slowly begins to become dominant. I'll give you an example. I think a lot of you know that my family, I found out later in life that witchcraft got into my family quite a lot, and I was blind to it until too late. But looking back on it, I did notice that there was a lot of changes. One of the things that was very interesting to me is the changes were subtle, but they were kind of noticeable over little things. And I think the guys will probably know this, how it's kind of subtle, but it was kind of noticeable. Is one of the things that guys always know is, like, when they're younger, they get crushes on people. I'll give you an example. I mean, who doesn't remember back in the 70s, Farrah Fawcett? I mean, whoever had a thing for Farrah Fawcett will always, no matter how old Farrah Fawcett got or whatever, you'll always carry a torch for Farrah Fawcett. I mean, for me, it was Diane Lane. I had a huge thing for Diane Lane way back, in the big town and Cotton Club, and just I've always had a crush on Diane Lane, big. And I don't care if she's in her 60s now. If I ever ran into Diane Lane, even in her 60s, I think my heart would drop. I just have it really bad for her. Unfaithful, she was hitting middle age and unfaithful, and I still saw her in that, and boy, that was an experience for her. I mean, you just always carry a torch for these women, And as someone in my family had a big thing for Halle Berry back in the day, years ago. I mean, she's been around for a while. And I don't know, just about 10 years ago, I was talking to him, and I said, I know he had a big thing for Halle Berry. And I said, hey, well, I think I saw a picture. He goes, Halle Berry. And he said to me, I never really got the Halle Berry thing. It's like, what? What do you mean never got the Halle Berry thing? You loved Halle Berry. He goes, no, I never really got it. And that was like such a 180. I mean, how do you remind someone that he was crazy over Halle Berry? And that was one of the things. It's like, how do you forget someone you're crazy over? And that was a small personality thing. I mean, but guys don't ever forget women they were crazy about when they were, kids. So, I mean, that was a subtle thing, but it was a big enough thing that had me scratching my head. I mean, you never forget the women that drove you crazy as a kid, but he did. And later on, when I found out what was going on, it kind of made sense to me because his personality had changed. And anyway, and what I'm listing here is just slowly how the subtlety of how a demon slowly take over. Yeah, when they first get a person, they're in the background. And then throughout, these are different stages, how you can watch the person's personality change. And another thing too, by the way, with the power, another time, he brought a girlfriend to a party. It was a scrawny little thing. And he was having her arm wrestle all the guys, and she was beating them all. And I've always been kind of a big guy. I lifted weights and everything. And he'd asked me if I would arm wrestle. And I said, oh, she's not going to beat me. Come on, it's ridiculous. At the time I could probably bench press 300. Can't do it right now. But at the time I was pretty beefy. And I said, she's not going to beat me. Don't you get me embarrassed if she does? And I said, no, I mean, if she beats me, but she's not going to be able to. So we arm wrestled, and she didn't beat me. But it was surprising the strength from her. I was the only guy she didn't beat. But it was pretty weird. I went left-handed and right-hander. I beat her both times, but she had no right to be as strong as she was, and that was demon strength. And that should have given it away too. But I was not as knowledgeable about that stuff then as I am now, or I would have picked up on it. Yeah, I mean, I've seen this stuff, and again, if I knew then what I knew now, I would have been all over that. But I was very naive back then. I'm knowledgeable now from what I learned from battling them. But at the time, I didn't know. I should have seen it coming, though. But anyway, here are the steps of how people actually do change over time. And I saw it myself. So anyway, it is pretty interesting, though, that these people do actually take in demons. And they do make deals. And over time, you can never trust a demon. You can never, ever, ever trust anything a demon says. And even the people that welcome the demon in, they basically over time screwed them over. I don't really know how much of the original people are left from the ones that took the demon in. I'm assuming that the people I knew are probably buried down and they're probably regretting the fact they let the demons in. I don't know. I don't care. As far as I'm concerned, they let the demons in. They can stay in there. I have no desire to rescue them if they are trapped. I don't really care. As far as I'm concerned, they deserve everything they get. But anyway, I just thought this was kind of interesting. We got to keep that in mind when we're battling these things. Who are we really dealing with? And as far as I'm concerned, by the people that take in the demons, by the time they get to this point, I think they're just fully demons at this point. They've had these demons in for years. And I would assume by this point they are probably fully demons, and any human qualities are probably buried because I think they've been probably fully manifested by now. We're in the last stage, full possessions. But anyway, that I thought was kind of interesting. So moving on. Now here we go. Charlie Sheen. He has finally admitted that he's had sex with men. And now he's HIV positive. So what? So what, Charlie? So you've had sex with men. All these times, these people that say they've got HIV, but they got it through drug. Yeah, maybe they did get through drug use. I mean, that's quite possible. But I find that when you take drugs, you often compromise yourself, and who knows? I mean, when you do drugs, you usually compromise yourself anyway. So drugs and homosexuality, I find, usually go hand in hand. So I'm not shocked when people say they do drugs and do homosexual, because when you're doing that, usually all bets are off, right? You don't know what you're doing. I mean, you're shooting up heroin or doing whatever you do. I mean, I've never ever touched any drugs. Um, I think in junior high, I might have tried pot once or something. I've never ever done any drugs heavier than that, and that's about it. But I mean, yeah, so I assume when you're doing all these drugs that sooner or later you're going to be doing homosexual sex anyway with these crazy parties. So um, I don't know. So he does crazy sex and he does drugs, and now he's got HIV. And so what? So you've probably given HIV to probably other people. So you've got HIV. You're going to probably die soon, or who knows? Maybe you're going to prolong your life. So maybe you're going to have sex with other people and give it to them. I don't know. So what? So you kind of, I don't know, kind of ruined your life. Maybe you've gotten your family pretty distressed and stressed out and upset. You've limited your career. I think there's a lot of so what's there. Definitely ruined your reputation. You probably disappointed your fans. I don't know. That's a pretty big so what, if you ask me, Charlie. I mean, if I had HIV, I think I would let my family down. I think I'd let my friends down. I think I'd let myself down. I know I would let the Lord down. So what? I mean, personally, if I had as much baggage as you, and I would say, so what? Like there's nothing to lose. If you really think, Charlie, that you've got nothing to lose, so what? Then you probably in a very low place. Because so what to me is like, I got nothing else to lose. So what? That means you're in a very, very bad place. You got nowhere to go but down. Nowhere else to go. You're as down as you can go. I mean, so what means I can't go any lower, right? So what? So if you're at a place where you got nowhere else to go, you can't go any lower. That's a pretty bad place. So, yikes. Yeah, I find that really bad, and I find this really horrendous. So just when we think we got nothing else to say about Joe Biden, I mean, he's already been responsible, as far as I'm concerned, for killing a beautiful young 19-year-old girl. Now we find that he was anti-Christian. So we found that Trump has sent out a task force, which has been spearheaded by General Pam Bondi, and she's found that he has been doing things by limiting humanitarian relief aids to Christians and declining exemptions for COVID. Basically, he's been anti-Christian. He limited humanitarian relief for Christians, as I mentioned. He had declined exemptions for COVID-19 to Christians. Again, I mentioned humanitarian relief to Christians was limited. Muted response to attacks against Christians. Put record-breaking fines on largest Christian universities, including Liberty University, 14 million. Grand Canyon University put a $37.7 million fine on them. Issue with the FBI's radical traditionalist Catholics. We call them domestic terrorism threats. Well, anyway, basically, he just against Trump on the fundamental First Amendment rights. So basically, Biden didn't like Christianity. And if he could, he made them pay for being Christians. So I'm not surprised. What would a podcast be without visiting our very, very good friend, Kilmar? So apparently, and I don't understand where this is going, because from what I understand, he can't go anywhere because that judge is ruling that he's got to go to a hearing October 6th. So I'm not sure where this is going, but I report in the news as I see it. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is now looking to be deported to a tiny African nation. And this name's going to kill me here. Eswatini? Eswatini. He was given a list of countries he could get deported to, and he picked 22 countries he could not live in for fear of persecution or torture. So here is my question. If he's just an innocent, run-of-the-mill, Joe average guy who just wants to live with his family, why is he such a desperado that there's 22 countries he cannot live in fear of persecution or torture? That sounds to me like he's a wanted desperado. If there's 22 countries he can't live in for fear of torture or persecution. So which is he? Is he Joe Average or is he a desperado? He sounds like the second coming of the Shah of Iran, if you ask me. He can't go to Uganda. He can't go to Mexico. He can't go to Costa Rica. Now, wait a second. Costa Rica already said that they'll welcome him with open arms. He speaks their language and he will not face any jail time at all. They'll welcome him to go live there and they speak his language. So I don't know what the problem there is. Oh, Guatemala, Brazil. Well, Brazil speaks Portuguese. I don't know what problem he would have there. I mean, Portuguese is not exactly Spanish. Although I've actually managed to talk to someone. I can get by with Spanish, and I was able to talk to someone with Portuguese. So he could probably get by in Brazil. Now, it won't be easy, but he could do it. Anyway, this comes from Fox News, so you know where I'm getting my information. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, 22 countries, you can't live there. What is this guy's just a taxi driver, I thought, or something. I don't know. Very interesting. So, but he does actually have that issue where he's got to go to October 6th for that hearing, where he can't go anywhere. So I'm not sure what's going on there. But let's just see what happens. Okay, now, this is a movie that I did watch last night. Now, let me tell you about this. The Warrens are a very interesting couple. I have watched their interview about this case. And I saw this movie last night. The Warrens were legitimate. I will tell you that. The movie is based on a true case, but the movie is very, very flawed. It's added a lot to it. And if you're going to watch the movie, that's fine, but I would not watch the movie as if you're watching the actual case. The movie is not realistic and it's not accurate. I'm not an expert on this case. I just watched their interview and they didn't cover everything. But I mean, I can tell you a couple of things just off the top of my head that I know, and I'm not an expert on this in the least. But I can tell you a couple of things that just stood out from my casual knowledge of the case. And again, I am not an expert on the case. I did just casually watch an interview with them talking about it about 3 or 4 months ago. It's not fresh in my mind, but I do remember them talking about it. And I could just from memory tell you flat off the top some things I remember that are inaccurate. Now, for those of you who didn't watch the movie, I'll try not to spoil too much of it. It's not really a movie where there's really a lot. There's no real spoilers in it. I mean, per se, it's kind of a lot of things going on. So I don't really think there's one thing that's going to blow the movie for you. So, but if you do, there are some spoilers. So if you really do want to watch the movie, although I don't really think it's all that great of a movie that it's going to blow anything. But if you got your heart set on it, it's only a 6.3 on IMDb. I think that's kind of generous. But if you have your heart set on watching it, you might want to just, skip through this or stop it or whatever. Because I am going to probably mention a couple of things that are spoilers. I don't think it'll ruin the movie, but whatever. Anyway, this is The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Here are where the movie, I think, took liberties that were inaccurate, and it's not part of the real story. So in the movie, um, the boy, the man, I guess he was, I guess I got the impression in the interview he was younger than he was in the movie. I think in the movie Arnie was in the mid-20s, maybe. He might have been older than that. I got the impression from the interview that I saw a few months ago that he was more of a teenager, but it doesn't really matter his age. But the point is, in both instances, he was in the room. And in the interview, I got the impression that he said to the boy and to the demon, he asked the demon to go inside him subtly. In the movie, they made a big point of him picking up the boy and screaming for the demon to get inside him instead of the boy. They made a big point of it, and Ed saw that. And I think in the movie, he had a heart attack and he wasn't able to tell anybody. That was Hollywood. In the actual interview, I don't think he had a heart attack, not that I remember, but I got the impression in the interview that it was done. And it was done. I actually got the impression it was done in a separate room and no one knew. But regardless whether it was done in a separate room or not, no one knew except the boy. So it was done. No one knew that the boy had taken the demon in. And that was the problem. The problem was the boy took the demon in and he left, and no one knew. That was the problem in reality. And the movie, they Hollywoodized it and they made it a big thing, and everyone knew that the demon had gone into the man, and the movie was a man. In the reality, I think it was a boy, like a teenager or something. I don't know, but I mean, it was Hollywoodized. In reality, it was more shocking because no one knew. To me, that would have been a better story, but regardless, it's Hollywoodized. That was a kind of a big point to me. I always say that the Warrens were real, but I disagree a lot with their tactics. And that was one of the things I disagree with. I would never have done that with a person who was not qualified to be in the room. I don't know. They seem to always have different people in the room with them when they do these things. And I would just find that to be something I would not do because of that. The people that are in there, I think, should know what they're doing, so stupid things like that don't happen. No, don't get me wrong. I don't blame the Warrens. I think the Warrens were very good people, and they more or less got the job done. And it could be because maybe they were the pioneers, and they were maybe the first, and they didn't really understand everything, and they got the job done. Like I said, I'm not critical of them, but maybe they just, because they were the first, they didn't really understand everything, and maybe it's because of them that maybe I'm a little more knowledgeable now. I don't know. I'm not casting stones at them. I'm more or less telling you how I know now, what I know, but they were doing it 50 years ago. So maybe I, and I didn't know 50 years ago how to handle it. So who knows why I know now what I know. Maybe it's because of them. I don't know. But anyway, another thing in the movie, they had him, to see if he was not possessed. They had him read from a Bible, and they put religious artifacts in him to prove that he had no demon in him. That is false. That would never work. I have seen people with demons and pick up and read Psalm 91. The religious artifacts, they can hold crucifixes, they can go to church. They can probably take the Holy Communion. That would not surprise me. They are really good at hiding. I would never, ever say anyone was not possessed because they had religious artifacts or can read from the Bible. I've tried that, and they fooled me. That is not true. Rosary beads, useless. The Hail Mary is useless. again, the Hail Mary is for prayers. Prayers to saints and to the Blessed Virgin do not work. They are dead and they've passed on. That's one of the things about the Catholic. Another thing about the Warrens is they rely a lot on the Catholic religion. I don't think Catholic priests are good for that reason. I think that they rely too much on saints and the Blessed Virgin. Jesus is the only solution that I have found to fight that, because Jesus is a liaison to all that. Saints are not around. They're dead people that have passed on. They're not any help. Jesus is the only one that can help. And the Catholic Church relies too much on the Blessed Virgin and the saints, and they're useless. Jesus is the only way. And that's why I don't think Catholic priests are the way. And the Warrens rely too heavily on Catholic priests. And Jesus is the only thing. And the Catholics aren't real big on Jesus. They're more into old traditional religion, and they don't concentrate on Jesus. That's why I find that the Pentecostal is much more effective against demons. They rely solely on Jesus, and Jesus is highly effective on fighting demons. And that's why I have left the Catholic Church and gone into more the evangelical. When I discovered demons and witches, I needed more ammunition, and the Catholic religion was not helping me. And it wasn't until I got into Jesus and the evangelical that I started to successfully fight off demons. And that's when things really got very successful with me, and I started to fight them off effectively. That's why I'm telling you that the Warrens were, to me, they were effective. They could have been more effective, but they did a lot of things incorrectly. And like I said, one of the things were the heavy reliance on Catholicism, and they needed to spend more time with Jesus and less time on things like rosary beads and Catholic priests. They mean well, but Jesus is far, far, far more effective than rosary beads and all that stuff, which have no real effect that I found in the religious artifacts. Not very effective against demons. Jesus is the only way that I found to effectively ward off demons and witches. Anyway, getting off that. So also I found a problem with the Catholic priest said the Protestant version of the Our Father. Not a big deal, but anyone who's Catholic or Protestant would have picked up on that immediately. They had the Catholic priest saying the Protestant version of the Our Father, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. I just found it to be inconsistent. Let's see what else we got. Also, in the movie, they had behind the demon, they had a character of a priest that not really, I don't know if they call him an evil priest, but he was a evilish priest that was retired, and he had an evil daughter that was and she was actually the one putting evil tokens in the family, and she was calling all these demons to haunt the family. That was completely contrived. That was not in real life. In the real story of The Devil Made Me Do It, The Conjuring, whatever they call it, there was just demons. Demons came. There was no evil priest or daughter. That was all Hollywood wanting to get an evil person involved in the storyline. And the real life story of the Warrens, there was no explanation for how I think there was, now thinking about it now, I think in the original interview I heard, and again, this was a few months ago, I think they said that they traced the demons to a Ouija board. I think they mentioned that it was a Ouija board that brought the demons on. I could be wrong. Again, I'm going off memory. But now thinking about it, I think they did mention that they traced it to a Ouija board that brought the demons on. Ouija boards are really bad news. I think I mentioned in previous podcast, when I was younger, I did mess with one very briefly, enough to know that it was real and enough to know it was lying to me. It was not a lost aunt or something. It was a demon. And I put it away, and that's the last time I touched with it. I came across it knowing that I was really talking to something, and I knew that it was lying to me, and it was probably evil, and that was the end of it. And that was the end of my experience with the Ouija board. Anyway, that's all we got for you tonight or this morning now. Oh, no, it's still evening. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you didn't, come back again and we'll try harder next time. But everyone have a real great day, and I will talk to you later. God bless everybody. Bye bye.